Russia invading Ukraine is literally the worst thing possible that could ever happen to our housing market in 2022. It is crushing the housing market, and that's what you're probably hearing all across the board. It's probably what you're hearing and seeing in articles. It's probably all over social media, but that could be far from the truth. At this very moment, with the uncertainty of our economy, interest rates actually came down. As they started to climb up, home affordability went down. So interest rates got up to close to 4%, which made buyers skeptical about buying a home because housing prices are so high. What that means for you, if you're a buyer, you're looking to buy a home and interest rates go up to 4%, even 5%, it's not as nearly as bad as years ago when interest rates were 16%. But what we know, especially the millennial generation, the younger generation, we know interest rates are being at 4 and under. As those rates continue to go up, home affordability will come down and you won't be able to afford the home that you're looking at if your debt to income ratio or your credit score plays a huge part in your affordability. Because of this uncertainty in the economy, they actually started to come down a little bit. While interest rates were so low for so long, so many people sat on the fence trying to decide if they should buy or not because they were uncertain about COVID and the pandemic and what the crash would look like in 2021 and 2020 and now 2022. Because of this uncertainty, there are so many different aspects of the housing market that could eventually be affected, but we don't know how. A great example of how bad this could be, just recently the S&P 500 lost 12.5%. Like, absolutely ridiculous over the last 5 days just because of the frenzy with all of the commotion happening in Ukraine. And I understand that could be a substantial loss to your portfolio, but it's not as nearly as bad as what happened in, let's say, the dot-com bubble in the early 2000s. President Biden also announced more sanctions against Russia, and hopefully things can start to de-escalate over the next several weeks, and our economy can start going back in the right direction. This actually may have a larger impact on the luxury market because affluent buyers may not be willing to pull the trigger on that second or third home while all this uncertainty is happening. And what that means is typically people panic when bad news happens, but you only lose when you sell. You only lose when you give in to the frenzy. If you just hold tight, you come out on top. If you can survive and weather the storm. Right now, the uncertainty is saying to people, the bad news, that because of this uncertainty, because of Ukraine, because of Russia, because of President Biden, whatever your belief system is, that this is all bad and we're now approaching a market crash. I want to encourage you to stay in the moment. There is no crystal ball. We don't know how this will play out in 6-7 months from now. We can't predict the uncertain things that may or may not happen, but we can handle what happens right now, what is happening right now. Because the rates came down, it helps our buyers. Because prices are still soaring, we can still capitalize as sellers on the housing market. Right now, going to continue to grow? Is it going to go the opposite way? If you're looking to buy a home, you should 150% go ahead and move forward because the unknown will keep us crippled. It will keep you crippled, leaning on something that may or may not happen. And then there's oil prices. If oil prices start to go up, that is also bad news for us. And this affects our global economy. This could lead to job loss and so many other aspects of our economy that are based on what happens with the oil. And that leads us into global supply chain issues, which is still an ongoing problem for home builders. As material costs go up, land value goes up, now labor goes up. And it's just this huge bubble of all these dynamics that are just feeding this bubble, and it's just growing and growing and growing and growing, and it's just a matter of time. The experts say that we should be looking forward to this doom and gloom time. No one knows what's really going to happen. Tomorrow the rates could drop, tomorrow the rates could go up. But we know about today. Where are rates right now? If you can get into a home and lock your rate, you can secure your home in a place where you and your family will lay your head while all the uncertainty and all the disaster and doom and gloom is happening. It will come. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. We just don't know when. The price of construction has just gotten out of control. Lumber has gone up 40%. This is just not sustainable. How do we go from a normal economy prior to COVID to now being in this what seemed like never-ending pandemic, and now you add in the invasion of Ukraine, you add in all the political jargon that's happening, all the craziness that's happening, supply chain, jobs, and all this stuff, oil prices, things that are just sitting on a boat. We can't even get the things that we ordered 10 months ago. Furniture is delayed. You're buying a home, you can't even get your stuff. This is not sustainable, and the more we keep going in the direction that we're going, the more uncertain it's going to be. We may be affected by them, but we cannot lead with those circumstances. So I'm here to encourage you to make the decision that's in the best interests of you and your family as you stand right now today, and hopefully all this will subside, and I will continue to pray for the people of Ukraine, the people of Russia, and these United States. If you want to know more about what I do and how I help my clients set themselves up for success, go to TheSamColeman.com and add me on all social media at TheSamColeman. Make sure you like, subscribe, and drop a comment.